Good afternoon, race fans, and welcome to another Race Day update for the Hunt the Front Super Dirt Series presented by Sweet Victory Apparel Company. We are here, round number 11 of our inaugural season. Brings us to the Needmore Speedway here in Norman Park, Georgia. Travis Scott alongside Joshua Joyner. Joshua, first things first, welcome back to the Race Day update.
Yeah, Joe Kelly generously filled in for me last week, and apparently Joe and I favor a little bit, or he looks an older version of me, because my wife sent me a text when she saw that and said she thought I just aged a bit and thought it was still me there. So anyway, pretty good to have Joe Kelly. I think he'll be here later tonight helping you announce.
To be our pit reporter.
But you got me back for the Race Day update, at least for now.
Yeah, so Elizabeth looked at it and just saw what you'd look like in a few years, right?
I don't know. Joe, you'll have to ask her what she thought of it, I guess. She's still with me, so maybe it's a good thing.
All right, so like I said, race number 11, Needmore Speedway, Norman Park, Georgia. Needmore, a track that doesn't run super late models very often. Last super late model race was actually a pair of super late model races back in 2020. You were here for at least one of those. Tell us what we can expect from Needmore.
Well, looking at it, it looks like Chance Smith and his crew have plenty of water on it. Hopefully, it is hot and sun's out, so hopefully it keeps moisture in the track. I know they're working really hard to do that, but when it does have plenty of moisture, it's usually pretty good, racy. You can get things kind of like a big circle, maybe egg-shaped, I think they call it, and it tends to have high speeds. Last time I was here, the guys were kind of up on the top, but you could definitely move around, throw some sliders, made for some really good racing. And looking at it, I think we'll see something similar to that tonight. Yeah,
interesting racetrack layout with a dog leg on the front straightaway. And I talked to a lot of guys, and they're like, man, that is a fast racetrack. Fast seems to be the adjective used to describe this racetrack.
Yeah, definitely. Whenever it's got the moisture in it, and again, I think it will tonight, it's pretty hammered down, at least early. But I think you will see it kind of like most places start to slow down and slick off a little bit and make for good racing in the feature.
Yeah, just 6 days removed from our last race at East Alabama Motor Speedway. Jimmy Owens picked up the win there, but that's not the story coming out of East Alabama. We've got a point shakeup at the top.
Yep.
Josh Putnam went into last weekend's race 6 points behind. He comes out 6 points in front of Will Harrington. Those two, they've been together all year long, back and forth. We've talked about it, just yet another tight points battle before us tonight.
Yeah, I think that's what you're going to see is, like you said, the back and forth. Those guys have gone back and forth. I wish I had counted to see how many times they've swapped the lead, the points lead this season, but I think we're going to see that right up until the end. And oh, by the way, but while those two guys had a little bit of a slip up, to, both of them at East Alabama, Joseph Joyner with a podium finish is creeping in. He's back to within 20-something points. So definitely a two-horse race, and I think you might could say it's a three-horse race, which is what you like to see as we come down. Only just over a handful of races left before we crown a champion.
So Joseph Joyner back-to-back top 5 finishes, and then Josh Putnam had an 8th place performance last week at East Alabama, but Will Harrington's 14th place performance was the worst of his year.
Yeah.
So that completely flips the points and brings everybody close.
Yeah. And I will say, of those 3 drivers, the one that has probably by far the most experience here is Will Harrington. This is not far from his home. Again, not a lot of late model racing goes on here, so he doesn't have a ton of races here, but he definitely has more. I don't think Putnam maybe's never been here. Joseph's been here, I think twice. Once when it first opened, almost over 10 years ago, I think. And then one of those 2020 races he was here for. So you got to think Will is kind of licking his chops at a chance to maybe bounce back and reclaim that top spot, or at least get some momentum back here at a track he's familiar with.
It seems like everywhere we go, Will Harrington, they say, well, he maybe doesn't have a lot of super laps here, but he's got a lot of crate laps and street stocks and all that.
Anything you can imagine.
And that's the case here at Needmore. So you got to think Harrington poised to come in here. He's back now second. He's the hunter rather than the hunted, at least for this week. But who knows what it could turn out to, because this racetrack, just from all indications that we've seen, certainly looks to be a wild card.
Yeah. Another guy that probably you're going to see, I think, be pretty good here is Trey Mills, kind of in his area. He doesn't have a lot of super laps anywhere, but I know he has some here in the crates, and he's a guy needing to bounce back after a disappointing, got caught up in a wreck at East Alabama. But I think what I like about this, no bones about it, this is going to be a low car count. We know that. We knew that booking this race. There's not a lot of supers in this area, but what I like about that is you get to put the spotlight on our series guys, right? And we know that probably they're going to be, quite a few of them in the top 5, top 10. They're going to get to race each other and kind of settle it on the track without too many other folks in and around them. both for the race win potentially, but also to kind of see where we're at in the points as we head towards the home stretch in a few weeks.
So we talked about the top three. You just mentioned Trey Mills. He's fourth in series points. He had an unfortunate incident on the racetrack, got caught up in someone else's spin last week that relegated him to a 22nd place performance. But the guy that's creeping up the point standings is our fifth place in points, Dalton Cook, a guy who does have a lot of laps.
Yes, yeah, Dalton Cook. I'm glad you mentioned him because he's one slow start to the year, but has steadily climbed his way back up. And he could be one that if he gets a good run here, it could be setting him up nicely toward the end of the year. I think he's established that he's going to be a top five. He's a top five competitor in the points, and maybe he can creep up there and get a top three if things go his way and some of those other guys slip back. Another thing on the points, we talk about Trey, and he seems to have had the rookie points well in hand. The Aces Renovation Rookie of the Year award, which pays $5,000 at the season's end, but there is a second place award for that, and it's actually $2,000, which is really good for a regional tour Rookie of the Year award. And that's a pretty close battle. Have you looked at that lately to see where those guys are?
Very close.
You got Bo Slay, I think, currently second in rookie points, 2 points ahead of Ryan Crane, and then Jason Croft, who had his best finish of the year, 11th at East Alabama last week, is only about another 20 points back. So I'm actually interested to see. I know those guys, don't get a whole lot of attention with Trey Mills kind of still in the spotlight and our points battle being center stage, but that second place Rookie of the Year award, I think is going to be fun to watch as we kind of wind down the season.
Yeah, so you mentioned Croft off his best finish of the year last weekend at East Alabama, but then the hard charger last weekend at East Alabama was Bo Slay, who improved 11 positions. So yeah, so great points battle heating up. This is night one of a 2-night weekend. We'll leave out of here tonight and we'll head just a couple hours north up I-75 to the Sonoy Raceway. Excited about that?
Always excited to go to Sonoa. That's one of my favorite tracks. I think one of the best tracks in the Southeast, if not the country. And I know a lot of these guys like going there. We'll have a lot more guys come in and race. Obviously, a little more guys in that area, super late model guys. So looking forward to a good field and a good race tomorrow night at Sonoa after I think what's going to be a good race here tonight at Needmore.
Yeah, I fully expect the points battle will be flipped on its head again after tonight's event.
The way it's trending,
It's going to be exciting. If you can't catch us here, Needmore Speedway, Norman Park, Georgia, on-track action scheduled to start around the 7:30. That is going to be weather dependent. It is pretty hot out here currently. That's why we're under this shade. If you can't catch us here, we'd love to have you here. Check us out on huntthefront.tv. That's where you can catch all of the action, not only tonight, but tomorrow night's action from Sonoy. We hope to see you there.